Now, look, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. The summer transfer window is shaping up to be massive for West Ham. But frankly, there are elements of it that I am a little uncertain over. But I guess time will tell. Now, after the nightmare of our relegation from the Premier League, we all knew in the immediate aftermath and before David Sullivan relinquished the chairmanship and a seat on the board of directors at West Ham, we knew that there would very likely be a fire sale on its way and that the vultures would be circling of the big clubs ready to feast on our best players. But now we're under the Daniel Křetínský chairmanship and things aren't quite how they were under David Sullivan. Now, there is one player in my opinion, we absolutely cannot afford to lose. One man, and he is a modern day club legend. He is, of course, our captain, our talisman, the hero of Prague, Jarrod Bowen. Now, I believe that he is still fully committed to the West Ham cause right now. And I'm sure the overwhelming majority of West Ham fans like you do as well. Now, Jarrod Bowen actually went to Rush Green yet on Wednesday, as I understand it, for a routine assessment with the medical team. Now, for me, that proves he's putting in the work behind the scenes. Now, on top of that, there are multiple club insiders that have dropped major updates this week expressing a massive confidence that Jarrod Bowen will stay at the club, despite us dropping down into the Championship. But losing him permanently this summer, it would feel like a dagger to the heart of our chances to get straight back up into the Premier League. But there's been an unexpected, a massive twist of fate at the World Cup, thousands of miles away from East London, and that might just have handed us the ultimate lifeline to keep Jarrod Bowen at the London Stadium. Now, this comes in the shape of a sudden masterclass from Crysencio Summerville for the Netherlands. Now, that could potentially and completely change the financial mathematics for our board. So we're going to break it all down, and it works out that there is a massive £80 million demand from Daniel Křetínský's led West Ham United for Mateus Fernandes for anyone wishing to obtain his services. And now the stars, they just might be aligning to keep Jarrod Bowen in claret and blue. Now, before we dive into the numbers, do me a massive favor. If you appreciate the content, please hit that like button right now. Subscribe to the channel, which you can do by scanning that QR code in the top left of your screen. And then make sure you turn on the notifications so you never miss an update. Drop a comment in the section below and let me know what you think about Jarrod Bowen's likelihood of staying at West Ham. And make sure you share this video onto your social media platforms. Really appreciate the support. Okay, let's get stuck into it. Let's lay out the cold, hard facts. Now, according to a major report from The Athletic, following our end of our 14-year stay in the Premier League, we are under severe financial pressure. That's a matter of fact. Now, we have to raise £150 million. I mean, you can't even conceive that amount of money, can you? Now, we need to get that money. Largely, that will have to come in player sales this summer. Now, you hear that number, and as I say, it can allow panic to set in. And you look at the squad and you think, well, there's only one way that we're going to reach that kind of money, and it's by selling key assets such as Jarrod Bowen, our crown jewels. Now, initially after the relegation, I thought it was inevitable that the board, and obviously at that point, the board consisted in the main, the figurehead was obviously David Sullivan. I thought that the board would take just the easiest, most painful route of all and cash in on Jarrod Bowen. Now, let's face it, he is an established top flight player. He's an international level winger. He's proven in the Premier League over many, many seasons, European experience as well, and he's a constant goal threat. Now, like I said earlier, he has reported for his routine medical assessments at Rush Green. He's behaving like the absolute consummate professional that we all know that he is. Now, those insider whispers about him being completely on board for the fight, they're giving me serious hope. But I also recognize that he could walk into pretty much most of the teams in the Premier League right now if a massive bid came in. But The strategy from the Daniel Křetínský-led West Ham United seems to be that they don't want to rip the heart out of this squad. Now, the strategy, it would seem, is to find that £150 million through other departures. Now, I believe the first piece of that puzzle is going to be Mateus Fernandes. Now, reports suggest we're holding out for, I mean, again, this is just absolutely mind-boggling sums of money, £80 million for Mateus Fernandes. And this comes amid pretty serious interest from teams such as Manchester United, Arsenal, and Real Madrid. Now, if we get £80 million for Mateus Fernandes, that will cover more than half of that financial black hole in one single transaction. Now, that still leaves £70 million left to find. And I think that's where Crysencio Summerville comes in. Now, he did have a pretty tough end to the domestic season. He had a really hot streak of form, but he then got an injury which halted him at the wrong time for us and for him. And whilst he came back into the first team after that injury had healed, he didn't quite recapture the form that he'd shown before. And obviously then we suffered the relegation on the final game, despite beating Leeds 3-0 at London Stadium. Now, despite all that, he did manage to get in the Premier League 5 goals, 4 assists. And in all competitions, he managed to get 7 goals, 5 assists. Now, that form caught the eye of the Netherlands manager, Ronald Koeman. And a bit of a shock move this was. He called him up for the World Cup squad for his first ever senior call-up. Now, dynamics change fast in football, don't they? Ronald Koeman didn't put him on the bench or anything like that. He gave Crysencio Summerville a surprise start in the Netherlands World Cup opener against Japan a few days ago. What did he go and do? He went out there, put on an absolute masterclass, scored a brilliant goal, announced himself onto the world stage. Now, you're probably asking, why should that matter to us? Well, because if you stop and think about it, the World Cup is the ultimate player valuation accelerator. Every single major club in Europe is watching those games with their checkbooks open. Now, before the tournament, after our relegation, Crysencio Summerville's value was heavily suppressed because of our relegation. There were probably quite a lot of teams that were looking at our situation and everything else and thinking that they could just swoop in and get a cheap championship discount. That's all changed. With his goal scoring start at the World Cup, playing for a major footballing nation like the Netherlands, I believe his price tag is skyrocketing by the minute. So if we do the math, if Fernandes is going for anything close to that £80 million mark and Summerville continues on his trajectory at the World Cup, we're all of a sudden in a position of a little bit of strength. Now, instead of being forced to accept a cut price £35 million offer for Crysencio Summerville, we're now in a position where we can demand a premium, top-tier Premier League money for Crysencio Summerville. Now, if a bidding war starts between European clubs or top-flight teams desperate for a goal-scoring winger, Crysencio Summerville alone could easily bridge the remaining £70 million gap to our financial target, or maybe just a little bit less, but somewhere in that region. Now, the domino effect of all of this is that the pressure to sell Jarrod Bowen completely evaporates, and the board can look to the books, show the financial regulators that the £150 million black hole, well, that's been filled through the sales of Fernandes and Summerville, and we can then slam the door shut on anyone trying to buy players such as Jarrod Bowen. We wouldn't need his sale to balance the books anymore. The stars are literally aligning for us to keep hold of our captain, completely backing up what the club insiders that I mentioned earlier are saying behind the scenes. Now, for me, keeping Jarrod Bowen would change everything as far as next season's concerned. He's our captain, he's our talisman, he's the hero of Prague, and he's an honorary East Ender. He knows what it means to play for the badge. Now, the fact that he's already back at Rush Green this week for his routine assessments, combined with the reports from club insiders who say that he's ready to stay, that shows his mindset. He's a professional through and through, focused on getting ready to lead us right back to the Premier League. Now, having his quality in the side to orchestrate a top-flight return makes us instant favourites to come straight back up to the promised land. So it's crazy to think that Crysencio Summerville scoring a goal at the World Cup for the Netherlands could be the very thing that saves Jarrod Bowen's West Ham career. But that is the beautiful, chaotic reality of the transfer window. Now, if you've made it this far, you are the heartbeat of this channel. So hit the like button if you haven't done so already. Make sure you subscribed. And there is a QR code in the top left to help you. Scan that. And don't forget to hit the notifications to make sure you don't miss any other updates as we go along. And make sure you copy the link to share this video in your socials. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Would you sell Fernandes and Summerville if it guaranteed that Jarrod Bowen stays at West Ham United? We'll see you next time. Come on, you Irons.